FIFA 16 is the most boring FIFA. Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another video on my channel. Today is another one of my FIFA review series, which I go into each FIFA and I give it my opinion, a review in fact, of looking back on it from a different perspective from when we were originally playing it. We've done most FIFAs, we've done FIFA 14, 15, 17, 18, 19, but I've left 16 out, who's in the middle of that, because I've just not really thought about it, honestly, until now. So if 18 was the most forgotten FIFA, then for me, FIFA 16 is the most boring FIFA. If you guys do enjoy, smash the like button and also subscribe if you're new, because this is going to be a bit of a breakdown. I've got a few notes here, and then tell me your thoughts of FIFA 16 down below. So let us get into the positives, okay, of 16. Let's talk about the soundtrack. The soundtrack for me was actually really underrated for FIFA 16. I'm going to just name some songs right here, which I feel like you may have forgotten about, or even was in this FIFA, but looking back on it, you'd be like, oh yeah, I remember I was in my brother's house when I listened to that song. There were songs like Shine a Light, there was Yeah Yeah Yeah, which I think is a banger, Mountain at My Gates, it was Kygo's song as well, Let Me Know by No Wild, Feeling Electric is a really popular one in there as well, Walls, Gold, Tonight. I'm gonna go play some songs quickly from the soundtrack right now, just to let you have a bit of a reminder, because honestly, I think this is quite underrated, really.
Down we go,
You know what, yeah, I actually think it's alright. I actually think there's actually some decent tunes in here, man. The one song for me that kind of just summarizes FIFA 16 is Feeling Electric. That's the one that kind of resides with me personally. FIFA 16 was my last year at college. I was playing football with my mates, so sits aside. I also went to university as well. In that summer, I turned 18. I went to uni. It was a big part of my life. So like that song, Feeling Electric, kind of reminds me of it all. So for me, soundtrack, I'll give it out of 10 about a 7.5, a bit, maybe an 8. My second positive is, of course, the only real change in this entire game, and that was, of course, foot draft. Keep in mind that this is before SBCs, this is before battles, this is before foot champions or division rivals. The only thing there was is DKTs, daily knockout tournaments, there was the online seasons, and then that was it before this. And honestly, for most people, that was it. Like, get to Division 1 and play with your friends. That's pretty much what FIFA was before this new era of competitive, gaming. So, of course, EA brought in Foot Draft, which is the main thing that people think about when they think of this FIFA. And I'll be honest, I never really played it just because I never was that good at the game, so that I never actually won it. Usually, it will cost me 15k to then lose my money because I would never win it, because I sucked at FIFA back then. Even though I would like to think that I was decent back then compared to a lot of people, the skill gap was definitely a thing that existed, and I'll get into that later. A lot of people like Foot Draft, saying that, like it was packs, it was free packs that they could just win, and apparently people made millions off it, which is fair play. My pack luck has always been awful, so I can't really understand what I mean. Another thing that I do like from this FIFA, and it may sound really weird, but it's a stadium background. This is the only FIFA which has this kind of thing, that the entire background in FET, in the actual menus, is changed to whatever you want it to be, and I thought it was a really nice and cool feature, and we've never seen it show up again since, which is, for me, kind of strange. And I think that's the end of my positives, really. Let's get into the middle ground here. This is either you love it or you hate it, and this for me is the gameplay. The main fundamental core of any game is the gameplay, and with FIFA 16, it's mixed. Passing, from what I remember, was just completely it was just really broken in a way that you just kind of guessed if the player was gonna get the ball or not, which is kind of a good thing if you want realism. Nowadays, in fact, passing could be too easy that you could like close your eyes and it goes to your player perfectly, but in this FIFA, you've got to be really good and also kind of lucky to pass the ball. Gameplay was pretty fast, skill moves were quite effective, dribbling was really like touch tight, and I remember that quite well. A Huge Gorilla was like the main guy back in these days, like he was like the main pro player, and he was amazing. Like no one can touch him. He was like another level, and that is what told me that this was like a big skill gap in this FIFA. Passing wasn't easy to do, shooting wasn't easy to do, dribbling was good. If you mastered it, then you'd be untouchable. For me, this had a pretty good skill gap in gameplay. I asked you guys over at my Twitter about your thoughts on 16, and honestly, it's completely mixed. People thought that it was really fast-paced. People then thought it was slow-paced. People then thought that they really enjoyed the dribbling, and then people said that it's just really boring. So I think this is more in your own personal opinion. For me, it's just a bit... It's not bad, however, I prefer 15 and 17 gameplay compared to 16. It's just kind of like, it's not the worst in the world, it's not really broken anyway, it's just there, in my opinion. I remember playing in Fatal. I went in Team Season Fatal with Bates in 87, his series. This is what really brought up my channel, and it almost killed my channel in the same time, because I gained like 10,000 subscribers, and then basically people only subscribed for the series. So then as soon as I ended the series, I almost lost like 10,000 subscribers. It was a pretty mad part of my channel. Fortunately, that's been resolved. But tell me your thoughts down below about the gameplay. For me, it's nothing special, to say the least. So let's break down why do I think this is the most boring FIFA, because so far I've said some good things, and then the gameplay is a bit eh. So why this is a boring game for me is because it was just in the middle period between 17 and 15, 15 being seen as a golden era, or the end of the golden era FIFA, and 16 is almost like crossroads between the actual proper FIFA, which is 17 that had FUT champions, that had SBCs, which had a lot of new changes. So 16 was just kind of like the middle part in between both FIFAs. A large part of the game was also content. Content wasn't really a thing, and I know nowadays there's maybe too much content, but back in these days, it literally was just informs, and then there was a Team of the Season, Team of the Year, and that really was it. There was nothing else for the entire year. Maybe the odd St. Paddy's Day promo, maybe some random man of the matches, but all in all, wasn't really much to do throughout the year. And if you've been playing FIFA since, you know, FIFA 12, 13, 14, 15, it does get quite old. And of course, keep in mind, this is an entire year of price ranges. You can't buy coins like what you could do back in 14 and 15, so people found it a bit more boring in comparison to those previous FIFAs and thought that it was a worse experience. In terms of career mode, it was fine, it was nothing amazing, and I mean, when you look back at most FIFAs, all career modes kind of all blur into one, really. It's been almost the same thing for a large time. Back in these FIFAs anyway, like FIFA 14, 15, 16, 17, it kind of was just what you made of it, really. There's just this overall feeling of 16 that just doesn't feel that memorable. Other than the soundtrack, I don't really remember much other than the absolutely awful color scheme and design of the game. For me, this is the worst card design. And maybe it's just my own opinion on it, but I just despise the look of this card design. It's like some sort of weird, like, the colors, it looks like scrambled eggs. Like, literal scrambled eggs on, like, a card. Like, the gold cards I could never enjoy, and the bronze cards, man. Like, Jesus, oh my god. Just the look of the game felt like some sort of, like, random indie Xbox 360 game, and I don't know, as a designer myself, I found that really just hard to look at. It's not really a big issue, but, you know, I kind of just didn't really like the vibe of the blues and the greens. I thought that it was just too much, and it looked like some random indie developer game. But at the end of the day, everything goes back to the fact that there wasn't much to do at all. There wasn't really much going on. It was just the game, and you just do whatever you want to do to make up for it. And I guess when we look back at this FIFA, when there's now FUT champions and SBCs, we kind of think, wow, that really was a boring FIFA. Other than doing wages and ping slips, I still did that back in those days, and I really actually enjoyed it. That was what I did. to not be bored. If I wasn't playing with mates, I did my own wagers and pink slips online because I found that to be really fun, and I made millions of coins just by beating people on FIFA. But do you know what the worst thing is, right? I'm watching my old videos because I used to do videos till like FIFA 13, so I've done videos of each FIFA, right? And I'm watching my gameplay here, and you're gonna see it right now, and I'm just looking at the gameplay and I'm thinking, wow, like, it just feels like how is this even the same franchise at this stage? It feels like such a different game to what we have nowadays, and I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, really. Like, I'm looking at the gameplay, it feels a lot more faster, that players can, like, just boost away from people. Defending looks like it's a lot harder to do. There's, like, you can't see people just sat back in this game. That's not a thing. Part of the bus isn't a thing in this game. Like, it just wasn't. I think there was, like, technically, there was, like, an auto-defensive, but I don't think part of the bus was an option. And even if they did, it really didn't make that much of a difference. Like, if you defended well, then you would defend well. Like, if you was good at defending, then you would reap the rewards of that. This is 5 years ago, man. I mean, of course, like, I look completely different. I mean, how was that me at age 17, man? I look like I'm like 30, man. One thing that people may remember from this game is the fact that Kingate was a thing, which is a very controversial part of the FIFA scene, which basically meant that if you had a inform card, they actually would perform worse than the normal base card because chemistry wouldn't actually make a difference. I remember this very well because everyone was like, oh my god, how long has this been a thing for? Because you could have like a player on like one chem, but their actual chemistry is fixed to their normal chem at all times. So it doesn't matter at that stage. Also, there's a pack opening animation, which is like this explosion, kind of like shards of material being like blown out everywhere, and I'm not gonna lie, for me it was probably the most kind of forgettable, boring pack animation, really. I know that it may sound really dumb to like question a game over its pack opening animation, but like, you know, I guess I have kind of liked the idea of the pack opening animations from here on out. You know, 17 for me is my favorite all-time animation. Just the fact that the screen froze, the fact it froze was just so cool to me. Overall, I'm just trying to think of things that I really did back in this FIFA. I did like a my player career mode, which I always did because I thought I got bored, and I did enjoy it because I like the stadium background. I thought it was a bit more immersive, but again, nothing too special. The graphics weren't amazing. Of course, this is the last one of the Ignite engine. This was the last FIFA of Ignite until they changed over to the new engine, which is Frostbite. And I want you guys to tell me down below in the comments your thoughts on this FIFA. Most importantly, did you really like it? Did you hate it? Did you forget about it? Is it kind of in the middle for you? FIFA 16 for me it's like FIFA 18. It's kind of like, it's there, it's a decent FIFA, but it feels like it's kind of like a FIFA in between FIFAs that is kind of just not that important, really. 18 was kind of in the middle of all that, and I think 16 has suffered the same fate here, that it just was the FIFA before the big one in 17, which everything then went down. And I would never forgive EA for the trailer of this game, which had Pele just kind of waffle for about a minute straight. In terms of features for career mode, they had one big one, which is in fact training. Training was changed a lot for this FIFA, which is a good part. They had the training with 5 different players. This actually has been in FIFA since it's become a thing, really. But then there's also, they made a thing about pre-season tournaments, which I don't think I know a single person has actually done a pre-season tournament since. And that was really it for career mode. Honestly, there was like apparently some new little things about realism, but not really. And how can we forget about women's football? Yeah, massive feature, and definitely not forgotten at all. Overall, you've got my point with this FIFA. It's just, for me, one that doesn't stick out in the memory other than a few little features here or there, but overall, just kind of there. So tell me your thoughts down below in the comments. If you're new, then please subscribe to the channel because we're so close to 250,000 subscribers. Let's hit 2,000 likes as well. And my next one may be FIFA 12 or 11. I've not done an old one yet, so I need to do one of them. So I'll see you guys in my next video. Thank you for watching, and my name is Vizeh. See you next time.